Dear friends, today is the 20th of December. Talk a little bit about the assassination of General Kirillov. I'm not going to talk Syria right now. Everybody's talking Syria. Talk about what's coming up. So a lot of people are thinking about this, the Trump, the Trump peace plan, or the Kellogg peace plan. And negotiations. Well, first of all, we'll begin with Kirillov, who, by the way, long before the SMO started, was exposing Western biolabs, Western bioterrorism. So he was a guy that was hated by the West and by Western intelligence quite a bit. So that they tried it and unfortunately succeeded in his assassination, his murder, is no surprise. These satanics who, you know, when they tell you there should only be 500 million humans, you think these are just random ramblings of maniacs? Oh, they're maniacs. But if you think they're random ramblings, you are very mistaken, my dear friends. They're not random ramblings. These people are quite serious. And when a lot of these people, these transnational elites, of course, they're not planning on themselves being cut down for the environment. They're planning on you and your children being cut down for the environment. The war just doesn't go far enough. I mean, well, yeah, you can go far enough and cut the population down to about 1/10 of what it is now, but that's usually a nuclear war that doesn't exactly help their lives. Screw the environment, it doesn't help their lives. What they'd like to do is to see most of you die off. Most of you, most of us. And biological weapons tend to be a much better resource. So, true, but look, the biolabs were there. We know they were there. They were reported on long before. And Kirillov was the champion of getting this out. He was working with the UN on more than one investigation, so he was silenced. This is like a mafia hit. As far as the Trump peace plan, well, first of all, it's dead on arrival. We'll just begin with that. It's not going to happen. Those terms that are being discussed are just not going to fly. Russia has no interest in 10 years or 20 years of Ukraine not in NATO and NATO in Ukraine and freezing the territory. But one thing you need to understand is Putin is not a dictator, and he's bound by the Constitution. And the Constitution says that no part of Russia can be partitioned off. And since those 4 new oblasts, 4 new provinces were accepted in, every last square centimeter of them has to be part of Russia. You can't auction off or negotiate off chunks of them. So as long as Kherson City, Zaporozhye City, and other territories are still in the hands of the Ukrainians, that's a non-starter. Second of all, Russia's winning, and the acceleration is evident everywhere. True, the Ukrainians are gathering up troops. They're even pulling troops off the Eastern Front, which is cracking and crashing everywhere. And they've got a new marker, a new combat group, a new marker with a square this time. It was a triangle before for the Kursk operation. And it's hard to say because they're making kind of noises toward Belgrade, but I think Bryansk is the direction they're going to try to ram themselves into. Another hurrah for before it all ends. Because they're under the impression that they can negotiate Russian land back for Russian land. It's not going to happen. Kursk, the reason Kursk is being so slow and being closed down is it's a minor front. A. B. It's a great. It's a tragedy for the civilians that weren't evacuated fast enough out, and many of them have been murdered by the VSU, by the Ukrainian army, and by all the mercs. Which why, by the way, there's one British merc that was captured. That's because the rest of the mercs aren't being taken alive. They're getting a controlled shot if they're still alive after the battle. That's how it is. Consider how many women and children have been murdered. We're probably looking at thousands. Definitely hundreds. Hundreds have been stolen into Ukraine for PR, evacuated for PR purposes, whatever those PR purposes really are. So you got what you got right now in that area, but as far as a trap, a pig trap, that was a great pig trap. The Ukrainians pulled key elite units off the front on the east, which sped up our advances quite a bit. They threw them into Kursk. They threw in tons of reserves from the deep of Ukraine that aviation and artillery, rocket artillery, wasn't reaching or couldn't find. Ukraine is not a small country. It's the size of Germany and France, basically, put together. They threw them in, and they came into one big fire trap. So, kill sack. And they keep putting people in. So there's no purpose to close it down fast, because they're being shelled from 4 directions. The 3 directions that they're in, and that one major road that they use to bring in supplies, it gets shelled by artillery, heavy artillery, by aviation, and by rockets as their convoys are there trying to get people in and get reinforcements in, get equipment in, ammunition, and so on. So, it's a great place. They keep bringing more people to get whacked. More and more reserves. Why close it down? It looks like they're going to go for another hurrah. And the interesting thing is the Ukrainian army has a long tradition of this back to 2014. Because they did several of these cauldron attacks where they ripped into the rebel front line and then bogged down and then got surrounded and then got whacked. And they did it over and over and over again. Tradition, I guess, so they're going to go for another hurrah. I think, like I said, it'll be in the Bryansk province, which is directly north on the edge of Belarus. And they're going to do it probably within the next 2 weeks, maybe around New Year's. And they've got to do it before Donald Trump gets in. Right now, they're getting a lot, from what satellite images are showing, they're getting quite a lot of equipment. They're getting quite a lot of tanks and Bradleys from the Germans, or mortars from the Germans with the Leopard tanks, and Bradleys from the U.S. So they're forming up. They're going to go for another hurrah, and the latest units have been getting trained. They're being pushed over there, which is interesting enough because the brigade that the French were training up, when it was moving back to Ukraine, they got the speedy training. As it was moving back to Ukraine, it had treated itself almost to a third, lost a third of its strength. People deserting up and down the train lines, running away into different parts of Europe, rather than go die for Zelensky and Uncle Biden and the senile, and Sullivan the satanic. Not to mention Blinken over there. So they realized what they were going into, the butcher shop. And they're the cattle that's going into that butcher shop. So no, they didn't want to be a part of it. The smaller ones anyways. We'll see about the rest. But yeah, it looks like it's going to be another hurrah, so the Western media can go, yeah, that's it. This is going to be the end of Putin this time for sure. Oh, they're almost in Moscow because they've got 10 kilometers inside the Russian border. Ah! We forgot Kursk. In the whole Kursk operation, they took like 15% of Kursk. 105 settlements. Yeah, the vast majority of settlements for 2-3 houses at a crossroad. But, settlement could be anything. It could be Moscow. That's a settlement. So, yeah. And it's the same thing as... and they did the same trick as they did with Rabotina the year before, 2023. The super summer offensive. Look how deep they've gone, because the map, the box right there, and the whole box of red, look how far they've gone. And then when you zoom out, it's that. It's 120 kilometers. Yeah, that's 12 kilometers wide, 10 kilometers deep. Actually, I think it was 10 kilometers wide, 12 kilometers deep. For those who don't understand kilometers, that's 6 miles wide and 7.5 miles deep. And they lost 80,000 dead for that piece of land that had absolutely zero strategic importance. And the one village of Rabotina, which was leveled down to the foundations that they grabbed, on the low ground, getting shelled from the high ground. Zero strategic value. And they held it. I mean, they've been pushed out of there by now, but they held it because that was political value, PR value. So there was a lot more people that died after that, after the summer offensive, because they kept trying to hold this little bulge. It wasn't even much of a bulge, but there you go. So I guess they're going to go for it again. We'll see. We'll see probably within the next week to 2 weeks. Probably closer to New Year's or right after New Year's. They do like to do these holiday attacks, try to spoil the Russian holidays. It's their big thing in the West. It's numerology, man. They are so linked to numerology. It's not even funny. So that's what we got right now. Keep everybody up to date as things move along. Keep posting. So thank you for watching. Hit that like button. Send it to your friends and relatives. We'll keep up the good fight. And if you want to support me, I'm not against that either. It's all in the description. So thank you very much, and we'll see you soon enough, because the crazy train just keeps rolling. Especially with Biden. Oh, by the way, I did love that one in the video that came out with the expose undercover journalist who was dating one of the guys from the State Department who was working for Sullivan. Who was talking about how Biden's is basically already dead. He won't live out for another year. He can't put a sentence together. That's it. He's dead man walking, basically, corpse on his feet. In Russia, it's called the self-mobile grandfather. Sounds better in Russian. It kind of loses something in the translation. But yeah, so there you go, Biden. Mr. Kind of still somewhat here, but not really. Amazingly, he's lasted actually this long. I didn't honestly think he was going to last all the way down to the end. Amazingly. But, so, hopefully, by the way, when Trump gets in, they'll actually go after some of these criminals in the Biden White House and the things that they've done against humanity in general. We're not just talking about, just the U.S. government. But, I mean, the corruption level is just incredible. So, all right. God bless. We'll see you soon.